As the voice faded, the ground beneath Gunner's feet began to shake. He stumbled, struggling to keep his balance as the earth cracked open, revealing a deep chasm that stretched out before him. The chasm was filled with swirling mist, and he could hear the sound of rushing water far below. Gunner took a cautious step back, his heart racing. He knew this was the first of the gem's trials, a test of his courage and resolve. He had to find a way across the chasm to reach the other side and continue his journey. He scanned the area, searching for a way across. His eyes landed on a narrow stone bridge that spanned the chasm, its surface slick with moisture and worn by time. The bridge looked unstable, but it was the only way forward. Gunner steeled himself, taking a deep breath before stepping onto the bridge. The stone creaked under his weight, and he could feel it sway slightly with each step. He moved slowly, carefully placing one foot in front of the other, his eyes fixed on the far side of the chasm. Halfway across, the bridge shuddered violently, and Gunner's heart leapt into his throat. He fought to maintain his balance, gripping the edges of the bridge as he inched forward. The mist below swirled and churned, obscuring the depths of the chasm and filling the air with an eerie glow. With every step, the bridge grew more unstable, and Gunner could feel his resolve wavering. But he forced himself to keep going, driven by the thought of his team and the mission that lay ahead. He couldn't afford to fail. Not now. Not when so much was at stake. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he reached the other side. He stepped off the bridge, his legs trembling with exhaustion and relief. He took a moment to catch his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. The ground beneath him was solid, and he felt a surge of confidence. He had passed the first trial, but he knew there would be more to come. He had to stay focused, to be prepared for whatever lay ahead. As he moved forward, the landscape shifted once more. The barren ground gave way to a dense forest, the trees towering high above him and casting long shadows on the forest floor. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the sound of rustling leaves filled his ears. Gunner pushed his way through the undergrowth, his senses alert for any sign of danger. He could feel the weight of the forest pressing in around him, the darkness growing deeper with each step. The path was narrow and winding, and he had to duck and weave to avoid the low-hanging branches that threatened to snag his clothes. Suddenly, the forest opened into a small clearing, and Gunner found himself standing before a large, ancient tree. The tree's trunk was gnarled and twisted, its branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. At the base of the tree, a pool of water shimmered in the dim light, its surface smooth and still. Gunner approached the pool cautiously, his eyes scanning the area for any sign of danger. As he neared the water's edge, he saw something moving beneath the surface, a dark shape, shifting and writhing. Before he could react, the shape burst from the water, revealing itself to be a massive serpent. The serpent's scales glistened in the light, and its eyes glowed with a malevolent red light. It reared back, hissing loudly as it prepared to strike. Gunner leapt back, drawing his weapon in a swift motion. He knew this was another test, a trial of his strength and skill. He had to defeat the serpent, to prove his worth and continue his journey. The serpent lunged at him, its fangs bared and its jaws wide. Gunner dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. He countered with a swift slash of his blade, but the serpent's scales were tough, and his weapon barely left a scratch. The serpent hissed angrily, coiling back for another strike. Gunner moved quickly, circling around the creature and looking for an opening. He could feel his heart racing, his breath coming in short, sharp bursts. But he refused to let fear take hold. He had faced worse than this. He could handle a serpent. The creature lunged again, and this time Gunner was ready. He sidestepped the attack, bringing his weapon down with all his strength. His blade struck true, cutting deep into the serpent's neck. The creature let out a shriek of pain, thrashing wildly as it tried to shake him off. Gunner held on, driving his blade deeper. The serpent's movements grew more frantic, but he didn't let up. He could feel its life slipping away, its strength fading with each passing moment. Finally, with a final shudder, the serpent collapsed, its body going limp. Gunnar stepped back, panting heavily. He had done it. He had passed the second trial. He took a moment to catch his breath, wiping the sweat from his brow. The serpent lay still at his feet, its eyes dim and lifeless. He knew there was still one more trial to come, but he felt ready. He had faced his fears and proven his strength. He could do this. As he turned to leave the clearing, the air around him shimmered, and the landscape began to change once more. The trees faded away, replaced by a vast, open plain. In the distance, he could see a figure standing alone, bathed in a soft, ethereal light. He approached cautiously, his eyes fixed on the figure. As he drew closer, he recognized the woman from before, Eli. She stood at the edge of a cliff, her back to him, as she gazed out over the plain. Gunnar stopped a few feet away, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew this was the final test, the last challenge he had to face before he could claim the Starlight Gem. Eli turned to face him, her expression calm and unreadable. "You have come far, Gunnar," she said softly. "You have faced your fears and proven your strength. But there is one last thing you must do." Gunnar nodded, his resolve unwavering. "I'm ready," he said. "What must I do?" Eli gestured to the cliff's edge. "You must take a leap of faith," she said. "You must trust in yourself, in your mission, and in the power of the gem. Only then will you be able to harness its power safely." Gunnar took a deep breath, stepping up to the edge of the cliff. He looked down, seeing nothing but darkness below. His heart raced, and for a moment he felt a surge of fear. But he pushed it aside, focusing on the goal ahead. He closed his eyes, taking one last breath before stepping off the edge. The wind rushed past him as he fell, his body weightless as he plummeted into the darkness. But he didn't feel fear. He felt peace. A sense of calm that filled him as he fell. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the fall stopped. Gunnar opened his eyes, finding himself standing once more in the cavern. The Starlight Gem floated before him, its light pulsating gently. Eli stood beside him, her eyes filled with warmth. "You have done it, Gunnar," she said. "You have proven yourself worthy. The gem is yours." Gunnar reached out, his hand closing around the gem. As he did, a surge of energy rushed through him, filling him with a sense of power unlike anything he had ever felt. He knew he had succeeded, that he had claimed the Starlight Gem. He turned to Eli, his expression filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said, "for everything." Eli smiled, nodding. "Your journey is just beginning, Gunnar," she said. "But I believe in you. Use the gem's power wisely, and you will succeed." Gunnar nodded, his resolve stronger than ever. He had faced his trials, conquered his fears, and proven his worth. Now he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, he and Eli stepped out of the cavern, the Starlight Gem glowing brightly in his hand. The journey was far from over, but Gunnar knew that with the gem's power, he could do anything. As they made their way out of the cavern, Eli clung tightly to Gunnar, her mind racing with thoughts of the power he now wielded. They stepped through a nearby portal, emerging into an open field. The sun was just beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the landscape. They stood on top of a large stone surrounded by 7 smaller ones, overlooking the vast expanse of Lake Michigan below. Eli gasped in awe. "This is beautiful," she murmured, still reeling from the sudden change in scenery. "Thank you for bringing me here, Master Gunnar." Gunnar laid her gently on the stone, and as she settled, she felt the power flowing through the stones beneath her. "This place is a smaller version of Stonehenge," Gunnar explained, his voice calm and authoritative. "Amazing," Eli whispered, taking in the sight of the stone circle. Do you think we could use it for alchemy experiments? Her mind was already spinning with possibilities. With the Starlight Gem and this powerful location, we could create something truly extraordinary. Gunnar nodded. That's the plan. This will be your lab. Eli's eyes widened with excitement as she began to envision the alchemical wonders they could achieve. What are you planning to do with all this power, Master Gunnar? She asked, her voice filled with awe. You'll see, Gunnar replied, his tone mysterious. Eli felt a surge of anticipation as she thought about the future. Tell me about yourself, Eli, Gunnar said suddenly, his voice softer now. Eli hesitated for a moment, then began. I'm an elf, like my sister Ela, but I'm more interested in alchemy and serving others than wielding magic. I grew up in the forest, learning about plants and minerals from my mother. She paused, glancing up at him. I'm not very strong physically, but I can use my magic to defend myself if needed. She smiled shyly, her cheeks flushing. And now I get to serve you. I'm 18, still young, but eager to learn and grow under your guidance. Gunnar regarded her thoughtfully. What abilities do you have? I don't have any special abilities like my sister Ela, Eli confessed, blushing deeply. But I am skilled in alchemy and can create potions that enhance physical strength or speed. And I'm very obedient, she added, looking up at him with hopeful eyes. What would you like me to do for you, Master Gunnar? Gunnar's expression remained unreadable. Swear your loyalty to me. I swear it, Eli promised, her voice trembling with excitement. I'll always be loyal and obedient to you, Master Gunnar. Please, command me as you wish. Gunnar nodded in approval. Have you ever served a human before? No, Master Gunnar, she admitted, her blush deepening. I've only ever served Ela and other elves, but I'm eager to learn how to please you. Gunnar smiled faintly. Let's sleep here tonight. Eli nodded, snuggling closer to Gunnar. Of course, Master Gunnar, she whispered, drifting off to sleep. The next morning, Gunnar gently woke her. Good morning, Eli. She yawned cutely, rubbing her eyes. Good morning, Master Gunnar. Did you sleep well? Gunnar nodded. What is the tattoo on your body? Eli's fingers traced the intricate pattern on her stomach, a symbol of her devotion to her previous master. It's a mark of loyalty and obedience, she explained softly. My old master put it there when I swore to serve him faithfully. She looked down, her expression a mix of pride and sadness. He passed away, she whispered, but I still carry his mark with pride. It reminds me of his teachings and guidance. As Gunnar looked around the open field, he noticed a large, dire wolf standing close by, watching them intently. Eli gasped, her eyes widening in fear and wonder. Master Gunnar, she whispered, is that your wolf? Gunnar nodded. Yes, he is my spirit companion. His name is Alpha. Eli's hand trembled slightly as she reached out to stroke the wolf's fur. Alpha, she whispered reverently. He's magnificent. What does he represent? Strength, loyalty, and untamed nature, Gunnar replied, his voice filled with pride. Wow, Eli breathed out, her eyes wide with admiration. He's truly a symbol of your power and connection to nature. She looked back at Gunnar, her heart full of respect and devotion. I'm honored to be by your side, Master Gunnar. Gunnar's expression softened slightly as he looked down at her. My mission is to hunt and destroy the evil in this world. Eli listened intently, her eyes filled with determination. That sounds dangerous, Master Gunnar, she whispered, but I trust you'll keep me safe while we do it. She nestled closer, her body instinctively craving his touch and warmth. What can I do to help? Gunnar smiled, the weight of the Starlight Gem in his hand reminding him of the power he now wielded. Together, Eli, we'll cleanse this world of its darkness. Gunnar and Eli stood on the stone platform overlooking Lake Michigan, the morning sun casting a golden hue over the tranquil waters below. The powerful energy of the Starlight Gem pulsed in Gunner's hand, its glow reflecting in his intense eyes. Beside him, Eli gazed at the surrounding stone circle, her mind already spinning with ideas. "This place," Eli began, her voice filled with excitement. "It's perfect for a workshop. The energy here, combined with the Starlight Gem, could allow us to create weapons unlike anything the world has ever seen." Gunnar nodded, his gaze fixed on the stones around them. "We'll need a space that can harness the power of these stones and channel it into the weapons we forge. This will be your lab, Eli, but it will also be our armory against the darkness." Eli's heart swelled with pride and determination. "Let's begin, then." Building the workshop. Over the next few days, Gunnar and Eli worked tirelessly to transform the stone circle into a formidable workshop. They began by clearing the central area, removing debris and preparing the ground for construction. Gunnar's strength made light work of the heavy lifting, while Eli used her alchemical knowledge to reinforce the stone pillars with enchanted minerals, ensuring they could channel and contain the energy from the Starlight Gem. "We need a forge," Gunnar stated one evening as they sat by a small fire, reviewing their progress. "Something that can withstand the power of the gem and the heat required to forge silver into a weapon." Eli nodded thoughtfully. "I can create a forge using the stones themselves. Their natural energy will provide the heat we need, and I can weave enchantments into the forge to contain and direct that energy." The next morning they set to work on the forge. Eli carefully selected stones from the surrounding area, each one imbued with latent magical energy. She arranged them in a circular pattern within the stone circle, creating a basin-like structure. With Gunnar's help, she inscribed ancient runes into the stones, each rune carefully chosen to enhance the forge's ability to channel energy. Once the forge was complete, Eli placed her hands on the stones and began to chant. The runes glowed brightly, and a warm golden light filled the basin. The air around them hummed with power as the forge came to life, fueled by the energy of the Starlight Gem. "It's ready," Eli said, stepping back to admire their work. Gunnar approached the forge, the silver dagger he had selected for the transformation in one hand and the Starlight Gem in the other. "This dagger will be the first of many," he said, his voice filled with resolve, "but it will be our greatest weapon." Forging the silver dagger. With the forge now active, Gunnar and Eli turned their attention to the task at hand, imbuing the silver dagger with the power of the Starlight Gem. The process required precision and careful timing, as the energy of the gem was potent and unpredictable. "Hold the dagger steady," Eli instructed, her voice calm and focused. "I'll begin the infusion. When I give the signal, place the Starlight Gem into the forge." Gunnar nodded, his grip firm on the hilt of the dagger. Eli began her work, chanting an incantation that resonated with the power of the stones around them. The forge's light intensified, and the air grew warmer as the energy built up. "Now, Gunnar!" Eli called out. Without hesitation, Gunnar placed the Starlight Gem into the heart of the forge. The gem's glow merged with the golden light of the forge, and the energy flowed into the dagger like molten silver. The blade began to shimmer, its surface crackling with power as the gem's essence fused with the metal. Eli continued her incantation, guiding the energy, ensuring it was absorbed evenly. The dagger pulsed with light, its once plain silver blade now gleaming with a radiant, otherworldly glow. Finally, Eli completed the ritual, her voice trailing off as the last of the energy settled into the weapon. Gunnar lifted the dagger, examining the transformed blade. It was no longer just a piece of silver. It was a weapon imbued with the power of the Starlight Gem, capable of cutting through darkness itself. "It's done," Eli said, her voice tinged with exhaustion but also triumph. "This dagger will pierce through any evil, but you must wield it with care. The power within it is immense." Gunnar nodded, his eyes meeting Eli's. "This is just the beginning. With this forge, we can create more weapons, arm ourselves for the battles ahead. Together we will rid this world of its darkest threats." The workshop's legacy. As weeks turned into months, the workshop became a beacon of hope. Gunnar and Eli crafted more weapons, each one infused with the power of the Starlight Gem and the magic of the ancient stones. They experimented with different materials, combining silver with other enchanted metals to create swords, shields, and armor, all designed to combat the forces of evil. Eli's skills in alchemy flourished in the workshop. She developed potions that enhanced the strength of their weapons, created elixirs that could heal even the gravest wounds, and brewed concoctions that rendered them invisible to the eyes of their enemies. The workshop, once a simple stone circle, had become a place of immense power and creativity, but the silver dagger remained their most prized creation, a symbol of their determination and the bond they had forged. It was the first weapon to be created in the workshop, and it carried with it the hopes of a world free from darkness. Gunnar and Eli knew that their journey was far from over. The battles ahead would be fierce, but with their workshop and the weapons they created, they were ready to face whatever came their way. The Starlight Gem had given them the tools they needed, but it was their resolve, their partnership, and their unwavering belief in their cause that would ultimately lead them to victory. And so, they continued to work side by side, preparing for the day when they would face the greatest evil of all, and emerge victorious.